Hello everyone, this is Marcy making a special appearance. I know you miss him so much. He'll be back next week. Ooh, goodbye Marcy. Alright. Hello everyone. In this video we're going to talk about how you should study for the midterm exam. It's coming up in less than 2 weeks. Well, exactly 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks actually. Our exam is on Tuesday of the exam week. It's in the afternoon of exam week. How do you study for this exam? We're going to prepare you very well for this exam. So first up, let's have an overview of how this whole thing works, right? This exam is going to contain everything that we learned this semester. Hopefully you took all the steps that I asked you to take and did a really good job learning the material in the first place. But even if you didn't, you can still use the next 2 weeks to catch up as much as possible so that you can do well on the midterm. So our exam date, again, is on Tuesday of the exam week. What do you need for the exam? Make sure you bring your pencils and erasers. I will not be there with you during your exam. I can't give you pencils and erasers, and you can't borrow it from other students. So I'll remind you this again next week, but make sure you have what you need, okay? Exam format is going to be mostly multiple choice. About, I think, 70% of the questions are going to be multiple choice. We'll have some true-false questions involved probably in the same 70%. We'll have some fill-in-the-blanks, those little short answer questions that we usually had on our tests. And we'll also have 1 or 2 long response questions that you'll need to answer in paragraphs. We'll talk more about it next week about what exactly I expect from you for the long responses. For the most part, you answer the questions as I ask, right? If I ask you 3 questions, you need to answer all 3 questions. The test difficulty is not going to be more difficult material-wise compared to our usual test, but because it has material from the entire semester, and you really have no idea what I'm going to ask you, but you really do because you have the review sheet, right? If you can answer all the questions on the review sheet, you can answer pretty much all the questions that I ask you on the test, right? I'm not going to ask you any questions that you haven't learned. So if you do a really good job in the next week and a half reviewing with me, even when I'm not there, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I have these videos where I walk you through everything that I would as if I was there. Take it very seriously. Take this as an opportunity for you to review because you don't want to wait until Monday night and freak out about it because freaking out and crying is not going to help you. Review sessions. As usual, we'll have multiple review sessions. This is just, as of now, this is what I think is going to happen. There should be a review session of some sort by Ms. Hatmaker and I. I don't know when Ms. Hatmaker is going to have time, but I should be there on Monday after exams, after your Monday exams. And then we also have our usual, our usual study hall review. So in this case, it's going to be 7:30 on Monday of the exam week on the bottom floor of the George Center because there might be more students than we usually have. So hopefully, if you're a boarder, you can figure it out. You can check in with your dorm parent and then come on over. If you're not a boarder, also you can come. I'll be there until the last student leaves. If that's 11 p.m., I'll stay there with you until 11 p.m. until you figure out everything on the test, okay? Some basics about how to study for the test. You want to make sure that you get enough sleep and eat your breakfast before your exams. Our exam is in the afternoon, so you eat your lunch, okay? Make sure you get enough sleep the night before, or at least get enough sleep the weekend before the test so that, well, definitely don't stay up all night. It's not going to help you. Second one, you want to review in chunks. Again, you don't want to wait until last minute to. There's going to be more than 200 review questions. Remembering 200 things that you've never seen before in one night is pretty impossible, so don't do that. Make sure I'm going to walk you through everything as long as you're following my direction, my suggestion for you on how you should review, you will do just fine. Interact with the material when you're studying. Don't stare at anything, right? You can see right now, I'm talking to you, sort of. I'm talking to you, I'm using my brain, my hands are all over the place. This is activating what's going on in my brain, right? It's making me think. Same idea. If you're just staring at the review sheet and reading it over, if you say, I read it over, that's useless. Don't do that, okay? What you need to do is to interact with the material. What does that mean? You can make some quizzes quizzes for yourself. You can test yourself. You can quiz others. You can look at the review sheet and ask someone else a question or ask yourself a question, right? Or your review sheet has the question side and the answer side folded over. Ask yourself the questions. Do you really know the answers, or do you just think you know? Form a study group. That's a good way to test each other. You can use the learn function on the Quizlet, not just, again, don't stare at the Quizlet. That's not helpful, right? You want to use the learn function so that you can quiz yourself. If you can test yourself and make sure that you know everything or as much as possible, then you'll definitely know everything for the test. Draw some diagrams, right? Write down the things that you have trouble remembering. Write it down a few times. Draw some diagrams. That will be helpful. Come up with a review plan, which is on the next page. Pretty much for biology, if you're following everything that I'm telling you, you'll do just fine. But you know how good you were when you were studying the material the first time, right? If you didn't do so well on test 2 of the first quarter, for example, go back and take a look at how well you did on those tests, right? If you know you didn't do so well on test 2, you definitely need to spend more time studying review sheet part 2, right? But if you did really well on test 5, then you don't need to spend as much time studying for review sheet part 5, right? If you're treating all the review questions the same way, you're clearly not going to do so well for part of the exam because there are parts that you need to spend more time on and be more focused on. You need to organize your review material, right? Make sure everything that I gave you so far, the previous review sheets, and obviously anything that I hand out this week and the week after is very important. Lastly, you want to take a deep breath, pace yourself when you're taking the test, check your work, make sure you answer every question, don't leave anything blank. Also, don't second guess yourself. The amount of times that I see students changing 5 questions, the answers to 5 questions and only get one of them right, and changing 4 right answers to the wrong answers is just way too many times. I learned it the hard way. I've done this myself. Don't change your answers. Usually whatever that's going on in the back of your brain that make you choose an answer the first time is usually the right answer, right? If you're going to change some answers to the right ones, some to the wrong one by accident, might as well just leave it the way it is. That's a really good idea. I'm telling you, don't change your answers. Trust me on this one, okay? So this page over here walks you through what you're going to be doing to review in the next week and a half. So we are going to have 8 days of reviews in total. Day 1, which is today, while you're watching this video, you should have already gotten your test. And then right now you're watching this video, Midterm Exam Review Plan and Strategies. Review part 1, which is the next video that you're going to be watching. You'll watch the video where I go over review part 1, and then you're going to write down the answers. So hopefully that's a good review for you. And then lastly, you're going to have a Google form quiz. This is not going to count as a lot of points, but this is just to ensure that you're actually paying attention while you're doing the review, right? Again, I'm not there to watch you, but you should know that all the material that you're learning from the videos and from the quiz is the same thing that you should be learning as if I was there. Okay, I can't answer your questions, but hopefully you don't have too many questions. And if you do, you can always email me this week, or we can meet up next week. But again, the point is, you're watching this video. It's not just words coming into one year and going out the other year. That time is gone. We don't have time, guys. We don't have time. We only have 2 weeks. We got to do this, okay? We have to do this together. I can't be the only one pushing you. You have to push yourself. For homework tonight, you're going to do a test correction for cell respiration. So hopefully you got this part down. The cell respiration is review part 9. So if you take a look at the following days, basically every day we're going to do one part of the review and do a little quiz. And then you're going to do some practice for homework for the most part. And then next week when I'm there, we're going to do some review games. We're going to do a little practicing class. We're going to do a practice test for homework. So again, I've said this way too many times, but believe me, if you're just listening to what I'm saying and following my directions, you're going to do well, okay? Some people do better on the midterm than their regular test because this is the second time around and they're really figuring out how the material works and they're really paying attention. If you're one of those people, I will be very happy for you, okay? You can do well. You can do this. I believe in you. The following pages just kind of goes over some more details and suggestions that I have for you. For example, it's a very good idea to memorize material the night before and right before you go to bed, and then wake up before you even do anything, before you even get out of bed. Take that paper and then memorize it again. To me, that's the best way to memorize anything, right? Before you start even thinking about, what am I going to eat for breakfast? Are we going to have some chicken patties for lunch, right? Before you even think of anything else, when you wake up, look at what you're trying to memorize and memorize it immediately. This works for all the classes. If you're not doing so well in Latin because you're bad at memorizing, I'm really bad at memorizing, right? I don't know if you know. I'm really bad at memorization. So this is what I do, and it works really well. Trust me. Or don't trust me, or at least try it once, okay? At least try that on our test day for Tuesday. Some last minute studying the morning of the test day. Could work a little bit. Right? Again, there are examples of make sure you teach. This is so important. Teach the material to someone else, right? We talked about the extra credit. One of the options that you have is to make a video. And when you're explaining something to another person, that really allows the material to go in your brain and really process that information and make everything so clear. Okay? So teach it. Teach it to your pillow, even. Teach it to someone. Teach it to your stuffed animal if you have one. I won't judge you, I promise. Teach it to this duck. Magical duck. The idea is you have to talk about what you're learning. Talking about biology is one of the best ways to learn biology. So this is pretty much all I have, right? This is pretty much all I have. I have some tips on text anxiety, some tips on double checking your answers. Don't worry too much. I believe in you. This is just a test. This is midterm. It's just a test grade. It's not going to ruin your life one way or another, but I want you to work as hard as you can. I want you to do your best, okay? I'm trying to show you that every day I'm putting in all my effort to support you, and hopefully you'll do the same to support yourself.